Hi, I'm Coach Amber, and welcome to the MeetRx Success Story podcast. Today we have a special guest with us, Valerie. Welcome, Valerie.
Thank you, Amber. It's good to be here.
I'm glad you're here to share your story. So the first question I would like to ask you is, why did you decide to go on the carnivore diet? Were you having any health issues, or was there another reason?
I was having some health issues. I had started keto and started my weight loss journey there as a very sick woman. And I saw how eliminating processed packaged foods and sugar and starchy vegetables really helped with the healing process of my body. And I was still struggling with digestional issues, with gas, bloating, stomach cramps, constipation/diarrhea. And I discovered through just watching videos and learning and listening to Dr. Ken Berry, who introduced me to carnivore, that some people just don't tolerate vegetables, no matter what. And I had done the Atkins diet back in 2000, but I wasn't aware of the electrolyte needs that are associated with doing zero carb, and I was not aware of the fat part of it, which I did learn in the World Carnivore Meat Group. So I decided in January, along with many others, to take the plunge and start with low carb carnivore and just eat meat. And I increased my fat to help with satiety. And I was starting off with 3 meals a day because I burn a crap load of calories in my job. I'm a personal shopper for Instacart doing grocery shopping, which is awesome, HIIT, if you're doing any sort of exercise along with your carnivore. It works really well for me, but it is still a lot of calories. I burn a lot of calories just on a resting metabolic rate, so I had to be mindful, and really carnivore was the only goal for me for that, because it gave me the calorie content I needed without having to eat 7,000 times a day, therefore spiking insulin and creating all of that vicious circle. So that's what led me to the carnivore lifestyle, and having my gut biome be what it's supposed to be. For having done that has made it worth not having carbs.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so when you first started carnivore, how did you implement the diet? What were you eating? And did you have any transitional issues?
I did have a little bit of keto flu where I felt kind of crappy, headache, withdrawals, because even not having had excessive carbs, being on keto, I was 20 carbs or less a day. It was still a carb cut, and I was still insulin resistant at that point. So I did experience some of that, and I'm a big believer in just take some Aleve or Tylenol to get yourself through that. Increase your electrolytes and increase your fat and increase your protein until you've stabilized. And that's what I did. And I was eating burgers and eggs and bacon already. So I just increased that, and I implemented grass-fed steaks. I was able to buy bulk at BJ's in my area and just bought a great big slab and cut it all up and shoved it in the freezer and ate when I was hungry and stopped when I was full, and didn't eat again until I was hungry.
Perfect. So did you include anything like spices or coffee? What about dairy? Any heavy cream or anything like that?
I was having heavy whipping cream in my coffee. I was doing the bulletproof coffee, traditional style keto, with salt, butter, and heavy whipping cream because I just cannot drink black coffee to save my soul. And then I was complaining about being stalled, and a keto coach slash carnivore coach recommended that I drop the heavy whipping cream. And when I fussed about not being able to have black coffee, she suggested that I whip raw eggs into my coffee in a blender. And it creates like a carnivore cappuccino, which I love and implement on a regular basis every day. Sometimes that's all I have for breakfast. It's like breakfast in a cup. It's got eggs, it's got butter, and it's got salt, you know, and if I'm still feeling a little hungry, sometimes I'll have a little side of bacon and I'm out the door. So it's a perfect breakfast if you're on the carnivore lifestyle and you just want a little something. It's like a dirty fast.
Perfect. You know, I have yet to try that, the eggs in the coffee. I'm really curious about that. So I'm going to have to give that a go.
So how that works is your coffee is hot and your eggs are raw, and I put them in a little dish and I turn the blender on. You can't do it in like a Ninja where you screw the cap on and put it in the slot. You have to have a regular style blender. And so you flip the top and you add the eggs slowly, and the hot coffee with the motion tempers it. So you're not, you know, just dumping an egg into hot coffee, because then you would cook your egg and you would have curdled coffee, which is gross. And you can't taste the egg in it, and it doesn't really change the flavor. And it allowed me to give up the whipping cream, which was, you know, causing me some issue.
Awesome. Okay, y'all. So you heard that. Take those tips. I'm going to try it, and I'll have to see how that goes. That's great.
It's amazing. I've done a video on it on my Instagram.
Awesome. I may have to look you up. Okay, so you talked a little bit about how some things have improved just a little bit, but could you go through and really explain what you noticed after going meat-based as opposed to just keto, and especially compared to the standard American diet? What changed for you? And was there anything that just kind of blew you away where you were like, wait, what? No way.
Oh, man. So the list is lengthy. I started off at 60 plus BMI, and my lean body mass was under 100 pounds, and I'm 5'7" with a large frame. So you can well imagine how atrophied I was. This is when I started keto, and I was at 345 pounds. Yeah. So I had lost 70 pounds with keto before switching to carnivore. And just the improvements from keto alone, I was able to walk better. I was able to have less joint pain. I have a compression fracture in my L1. So that didn't heal properly because I was fighting with my insurance company about whether I had insurance or not. So there wasn't any surgery. There wasn't any medical attention. It was all based on what I had known already working for naturopathic physicians for a couple of years. So I did what I had to do, and I started my job about the same time I started keto. So I just kept progressing in that journey. And when I turned the corner to carnivore, I had 1, more energy, way more energy. 2, I was sleeping better. 3, I stopped needing to feel like I had to nap after I ate even a keto meal, because it's still vegetables, which is carbs, which is a spike in insulin. And it gave me the digestional relief that I needed until I got to last year about this time, where I had a biliary catheter inserted. I had a bile duct closed. And I'm pretty sure it was from the carbs I was eating and then transitioned to no carbs, had created bile stones in my biliary tree. I did not have a gallbladder, and I have not had a gallbladder since 1993. I had a surgeon botch my gallbladder surgery at that time, and he had severed the main bile duct, taking out my gallbladder. So that required reconstructive surgery on my bile duct, which back then they just put in a stint for 6 weeks, took it out, said you're good to go, and I went on my merry way. And, you know, I had had a pregnancy in 97. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong. And then all of a sudden, this bile duct started acting up. I joke about the warranty ran out on it. So I needed to go get some new parts or something done to the old parts. So I was very sick. And I'm very convinced that I would not have survived if I had been eating carbs at this time, because I went into the hospital with a bile blood count of 15. And your normal blood bile count should be 2 or less, 2 being the very highest. So I was a very sick woman, and they had to do an angioplasty on my bile duct and blast stones and then insert this catheter. And every 6 to 8 weeks, I had to go and have this procedure done where they injected contrast dye, they blasted stones if they found any more, they ballooned the bile duct open, and this was a 9-month-long procedure until last week. I just got the catheter out last week. I know. And so I was very excited about the fact that I was only eating meat. I did have to use vegetables to transition from the glucose that they give you in your IV, which really sucked because it was a trigger for carbs, but at least it was just keto carbs I was eating. And having to transition off of that every single time I went back in there. It kind of sucked. But the fact that I just kept on a meat-based, primarily, diet through this whole point just confirms that meat heals for me. And it confirms that carbs are carbs, and even vegetable carbs can damage your body. And I was really excited about the fact that no matter what I was doing, I was continuing to heal my body. And every time I went in there, I would say to them, look, this is, you know, I'm taking as much processed, packaged chemical stuff out of my world as possible. You know, is there anything that I'm doing that's going to hurt me? Is there anything I should be doing that I'm not doing? And the answer the same every single time was, nope, you're doing everything right. So here I am, 117 pounds lighter than I was a couple of years ago, with more energy at 55 than I had at 35, and a biliary catheter out and a bile duct that's working the way it's supposed to. And I'm already starting to see that my BMI is dropping again. I've lost 0.5% BMI just in the last couple of weeks.
That's amazing.
So, I know. So it is definitely worth it. I wouldn't recommend anybody going back to the standard American diet for any reason. The proper human diet, get your PhD in meat and low carb.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your story. That's amazing. I'm so happy that the whole bile duct thing is finally seems to be dealt with, and I hope you don't have any more issues with that. I can't even imagine what that was like, having to deal with that for so long. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And, you know, I'm also convinced that I would not have survived this pandemic being in the thick of it in a grocery store and surviving if I were eating the standard American diet. I cannot hand my success to anything other than the fact that I have been solely meat-based. And I use oils mostly instead of herbs, essential oils, in terms of seasoning, because it's a super concentration without the carbs.
Very good. Again, Valerie, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. These type of stories are so inspirational and really help a lot of people. So I very much appreciate you coming on to the Meet RX podcast so you can share that.
Well, it was my pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. And you have a wonderful day, and I hope you continue on with awesome health. Bye,
Thank
Valerie.
you. Bye-bye.